Yeah, for sure.
Well, let's go into some of the details we were talking about because it was like, and we were talking about the value of the property was key.
Yeah. Yeah, the value of the property is key. When you're doing a 1031 exchange, you want to defer all of your taxes typically. So in order to do that, you want to buy property or properties of equal or greater value and of equal or greater equity. So if you sell for $500,000, you want to buy something for $500,000, utilizing all the equity from the sale. Now, it doesn't destroy your exchange if you don't, but there could be a tax consequence on the trade down portion or whatever portion of the equity they don't use towards the purchase.
So for argument's sake, I take $100,000 in profit. I roll $80,000 of it into my new property. The $20,000 is subject to taxation because it wasn't rolled into the purchase of the new property.
Correct.
Okay, great.
Yeah. So you want to go equal or greater value, equal or greater equity. You could buy multiple properties to meet that though. So you sell 2 properties for $250 to meet the $500, then you're okay. So you could buy multiple properties.
Okay, so let's start with something simple. If someone wants to exchange like for like properties, wants to go and say go from a condo and they want to buy a 2-unit or 3-unit or 4-unit, can they do that?
Yes, they can. Like-kind property and
You need investment to investment.
Investment to invest. Real
Okay.
estate held for investment being exchanged for real estate held for investment. So you can go from the single-family residence rental to the units. So like-kind property is real flexible. As long as you got the real estate that was held for investment and exchanging it for real estate that's also going to be held for investment, you meet the qualification.
Okay, so another thing that I see happening right now is people are feeling very comfortable that they've made a nice profit on their personal residence.
Mm-hmm.
And they say, well, I don't really, and maybe they don't qualify for the capital gains exemption because they didn't hold it for 2 years because we had rapid appreciation.
Yeah.
So they're saying, well, I'd rather keep it as an investment property and utilize that in a 1031. Let me get this straight. They would have to move out of their current home, buy something else, and utilize the home for what, at least 2 years as an investment?
As an investment property, but there's a real advantage to doing something like that. You could mix 1031 with IRC 121. The IRC 121 is the $250,000 or $500,000 exemption you get when you sell your primary residence. So actually, in your scenario, they didn't live there 2 years, so they're going to try to do the 1031
Right, but let's say they
exchange.
did, because I like where you're going
Yeah,
with this.
let's say they did. So you mix it. So you can, a lot of people have owned property for 30, 40 years, and they have a greater gain than the $500,000 that they allow, so they're taxed, for whatever amount they have above that. You could sell, do a 1031 exchange if you rented it out the previous 2 years, and right now, if you lived there and owned it 2 out of the last 5 years, you could also get your 121 exemption. So you could take $500,000, pocket it, and 1031 exchange the gain you have above and beyond the $500,000.
You can get your cake and eat it too?
Yeah, you can on this. So,
Nice.
Yeah. So the $500,000, of course, I'm saying if you're married, it's only $250,000 if you're single.
I just thought of a client that doesn't know he can do that, and I assure you that would be exactly what he would want to do because it's a $3 million house. He only owes $200,000 on it.
Yeah.
His definite goal is to purchase an investment property. So if he was made aware of that, I'm sure he'd pull the trigger right now.
Yeah, so he could take $500,000 if he's married and roll it into his next primary residence and take the balance and put it into an investment property and go from there.
Well, we're going to make your phone ring, Ken Harris.
Yeah. Okay, Ken, how can they get a hold of you?
Please call me anytime at 818-307-0085.
Say it one more
That's my
time.
cell phone, 818-307-0085. Or they could email me at K.A. Harris, my last name, Harris, at firstam.com, spelled out.
All right, great information, because a lot of you out there, I guarantee, did not know these tax advantages exist, or how you can actually take advantage of 2, not just 1, but 2 tax advantages to pull out cash. And because we've seen a lot of appreciation over the last couple of years. I mean, we're at 23 to 25% in LA for about 2 years. So a lot of you are going, what do I do now?
Yeah, you know what's nice about this, Don, is we've interviewed Kenny multiple times, right? I mean, this is probably your 5th or 6th time on the show.
Yeah.
And this is the first time that we've dove into this part where you can combine the 2 exemptions to really get some massive tax benefit, and potentially they could still buy the home they want and get the investment property they want and tax defer everything. I mean, really great stuff.
Yeah, definitely. I do want to bring up, though, there are some proposals out there. We won't know until after January. That they're trying to extend out the time you need to own the property and live in it to get that exemption, the 121 exemption. There's also proposals to amend 1031 exchange. We don't know if it's going to go through, but they may cap out how much you can defer. So just keep in mind, it's something out there. And we have the lobbyists in Washington that are fighting it. So hopefully it doesn't go through, but
Yeah, well, let's be honest about it. What happened is they said they wanted to do away with the homeowner's tax exemption, and that did not go over well.
Yeah.
So we're going to keep the homeowner's tax exemption, but maybe we're going to do away with some of the other benefits that you can have when it comes to tax deferral.
Yeah. Yeah, but
Okay.
I think it'd be bad for the economy, to be honest. That's my own opinion.
Especially
but-
right now, we
Yeah.
don't need any hiccups in the get along right now, because we have been slowly improving, which is actually the best pace. A lot of
Yeah.
people want it to go robust, but we know what happens there. Robust equals bust. So let's talk about two other quick things I definitely want to clarify. How long do you have, if you're going to make this exchange, how long do you have to find the next property?
Okay, you must identify what you're purchasing within 45 days from the day you close escrow on the property you sell. So let's say we're close of escrows today on the property you're selling. 45 from today, you must identify. Now, that doesn't mean you have to be an escrow or contract. You just submit in writing to us what you're going to purchase. And 180 days to close. So 180, also starting today, the day you close escrow on the property.
And you can
sell.
choose 3 properties, correct?
You can choose 3.
Identify.
You can choose more than 3. I think on past shows we went into the 200% rule.
Right.
So you could only identify up to 200% of the property you sold in value.
Right. One of
So,
the things that's scary is, let's say I identify the 3 properties and then I don't get any of them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And that's why I see people, a lot of purchase agreements are coming in with options for extensions on the property you sell. Because once this time starts ticking, you can't change it. So if you extend out the close of escrow on the property you sell, it gives you more time to find a replacement property, because you really don't want to identify blindly on the day 45.
All right, on that question, I threw a boomerang at you, because then now it's going to come back at you. What about a reverse?
Reverse exchange is actually a great thing to avoid that 45 day. It is a much more expensive transaction, but you park the property, or we, I should say, park the property you're gonna purchase through the 1031 exchange. You can't own both properties at the same time and do a 1031 exchange. So basically, you cannot exchange into property you already own. To avoid that, we come in, we create an LLC, we buy the property on behalf of the client, and we're basically parking it until they're able to sell the property they want to sell on the exchange. They already know now. They usually know what they're going to sell, so it's a reverse. So we park it. 45 days they have to identify what they're going to sell. 180 days they have to close on not only the sale, but now you're doing a regular 1031 exchange. You sell, funds roll into the QI, us, and then buy the replacement property that we now own for you.
Okay, and if you were in your car right now and you said, "What did he just
Yeah.
say?" Because that's a much more complex transaction and
Much more.
probably why it's more expensive.
Yeah, it is, and we're taking ownership to the property, so there's more liability and more work and then more out-of-pocket expenses. Just it's my job to come out to you. If you want me to speak to your clients or speak to you one-on-one, that's what I do.
Or
So
speak to your
feel free to call
office.
me, yeah.
All you real estate agents out there, you should take advantage of someone like Ken Harris, because there's so many advantages that you can explain to your clients, because that's our job, is to come up with these options. Just like when we look at a loan, it's not just cookie cutter. It's not always just a 30-year fix, and it's not always just the lowest interest rate. We have helped many, many of you out there get into a home with a program that actually will save you, believe it or not, hundreds of dollars per month, with a higher interest rate. That's right, you heard it here. That's what we do, because there's strategies that you can use, just like Ken has strategies. Depending on your particular scenario, we can strategize around. That's what happens when you work with experts. And Kenny is an expert. Again, how can they get a hold of you, Ken?
Call me 818-307-0085 or email kaharris@firstam.com.
And you can always get a hold of Gino and I, of course, at Don and Gino, DONANDGINO, at gmail.com. We're always available for your questions, whether it's real estate related, finance related, where are interest rates going, should I buy now, should I sell now, I need a real estate professional, I need a 1031 exchange expert, because I want to look into expanding my horizons when it comes to owning investment properties, which you should. That's one of the best investments in the world, is real estate.
Yeah, I love that we can combine your knowledge, Ken, together with our trust attorney that we recommend and our financial planner, and we can put all 3 of you together, and that way you can make a cohesive plan to make sure that everybody doesn't pay any more tax than they have to and gets all the gains that they've been looking for.
That's a great point, because we always want them to have their advisors with them and give them advice through the transaction, because we're really not allowed to. I'll give them the rules and on the guidelines and what they need to do and what things they need to follow, but
You feel that education is the best advice.
absolutely.
There you go. And that's why we have APRG, America's Professional Resource Group. We're going to talk more about that after the break, but we have put together a group of the very best professionals in all of Santa Cruz. We're talking the best. We've interviewed 600 and something interviews. We know the best, and you go to aprgi.com, aprgi.com, and find the best professionals you can find in this valley. And, of course, we always rely on you, King. Thank you for being part of our show again, bud.
Not a problem. It's always my pleasure.
Again, Ken Harris with First American Exchange Company. Reach out to Ken or reach out to us at donandgino.com. And we look forward to having you back, bud.
For sure.
Don't go away. We got more great show ahead. We're just at the halftime.